Hey y'all, I'm going to be showing you how to make your business flyer on Affinity Designer. I'm not going to go into a whole tutorial, but I'm just going to be showing you guys the basics on how to make a flyer. So first you want to start off with your base clip. This clip will barely be shown in the flyer itself, but we need something to make that background stand out. So I just use my own images, and I use about 4 photos for this entire flyer, but you can use more if you'd like. So for the effect I'm going for like 3 main photos on the top and then some wordings at the bottom. Once I've angled it how I want it, now I'm going to fix my bottom photo. So I'm going to add this effect over it. It's basically called a vignette. That's all you look up on the internet. And I'm going to add this on top of that bottom photo, and I'm going to play around with the controls. I basically just want a little kind of white sheen over it, and then I went and edited some of the color controls so I can make it a little bit darker, a little bit more vibrant. As you can see here, I play with the brightness, contrast, highlights, and shadows. Definitely did a lot of contrast in here, but this is not the main focus again, so we're going to make it blurry by adding a Gaussian blur. Now we're going to add a little fade in, a little black fade to cover the borders of these images. This takes a little bit of time to get perfected, but once you have it perfected, it should look something like this. And then I'm just going to go ahead and start adding my text. Now I'm doing a photography flyer, so yours will surely look different, but you can add it with any text that you want that is pertaining to the service or product that you're selling. This is your flyer. Some of these fonts that I'm using, like Didot and Dogma, can be found on the font. I use most of my fonts, I get most of my fonts from there, so you can easily just download them and use them. I may do a tutorial on how to import fonts into Affinity Designer soon, so that is a great website to use. Also keep in mind when you're doing like any overlay or text effects or adding any type of additional images, to make sure that you always check your layers. Your layers are on your right side, and this just shows you what order your images are in. So if you want things to be at the very top over something, you make sure that's the first layer, basically. Now this is totally optional, but I wanted to add a little link in bio kind of circle, like button sort of, but this is totally up to you. I mean, it's not really a band, it's just on the left side there's shapes, and I added a circle, and I made sure the circle was under that text, and then I grouped it together, so it's not really that hard. But if you want to do something like that, you're free to do so. Here I'm just adding more text, finishing up my flyer, adding all my services, adding my socials, and making sure all or most of my text have shadows behind it, because shadows are what make your text stand out essentially from the background. And you can do all of this in the layer FX. As you can see, they have a whole different types of control that you can play with, like outline, shadow, inner shadow, glow. So just play around with the controls to see which one you think fits your flyer better. Another thing that I like to do to spruce up my flyers is to add a dust overlay. You can just search that up in Google and you can find any different type of texture backgrounds. And I like to overlay this, I actually use lightened in Affinity Photo to kind of make it an overlay over my image, so it kind of looks like vintage, film a little bit. I like to add that. So now the last thing that I did was just add a layer over this and adjust my coloring controls. I adjusted my brightness, contrast, and exposure. I do this to kind of liven up the image. If it's too dark, then I would even go in with my graphs, but if it's too dark, I would lighten it up. If it's too light, I would darken it or add more contrast. It's just up to you and the type of vibe you're going for your flyer, but I definitely wanted a moody, dark, contrasty vibe. Now after this, you can change anything you want, add more images. It's really up to you. But that's the end of this tutorial. I hope this video was helpful, and if you have any more questions or want more content like this, be sure to like and subscribe for more tutorial videos.